Hello everyone, and welcome to another royal reading here at MadWorldTarot. It's Memorial Day in the United States, and I'm hoping that Harry has the decency to stay out of sight today. That's my personal opinion, and I'm sure many of you watching share that opinion. We're going back into the mists of time today. We're going back to the day of Harry and Meghan's wedding, because Arthur Edwards gave a very interesting interview to the Sun's Matt Wilkinson, which I watched when it came out on YouTube, and now it's been picked up by, among other publications, the New York Post. And Arthur Edwards said that Harry and Meghan's, and if you don't know who he is, he's a very famous royal photographer, the elder statesman really of royal photography, a lovely man. He's worked that beat for decades, and he said that Harry and Meghan's wedding was a miserable affair. It was the worst wedding that he's ever attended, and he couldn't wait to leave Windsor at the end of it. Reason being was that the British press and photographers were iced out basically by Harry and Meghan, who were very angry at them by that stage already, and their select photographers could work the field, get close up. He and the rest of the crew had to hang back, use very long lenses, and when Harry and Meghan finally appeared in sight in their carriage, they both turned away, according to Arthur Edwards, very deliberately, so that nobody could get a good shot of them. He went home, he said, with absolutely nothing and feeling really miserable. And it was very interesting that he went on to say that he'd always liked Harry, had always been a fan of his. He'd watched him grow up from baby, from the steps of the hospital when Princess Diana appeared on the steps carrying newborn baby Harry, to all through all his peccadillos to the wedding and onwards. And he basically said, very emphatically said, that he's done with Harry. He will never forgive him. His behavior is egregious. There is no way back for Harry, and he himself personally will never feel the same way about Harry. It's done, it's over. It was a really very serious and very sad indictment of Harry and his character, on the wrong turning that at least Arthur Edwards thinks that Harry has taken. So I want to know, I have the Urban Tarot on the tarot table, and I want to know, just quickly to start up today, a little 5-card reading, how Harry might feel watching this interview, because I'm sure he has been made aware of it. He does seem to follow, he and Meghan do seem to follow the press very closely when it comes to reporting on them, and it is of course now in the New York Post. And I want to know how Meghan feels about it. I want to know if Harry feels any regret about the way things have turned out. And also, when I went and looked in the comments section on the New York Post, the bots were all over it, what I suspect are bots anyway. They were really crawling all over the place. I've never seen anything like it, swarming over the comments section, really having a go at Arthur Edwards, silly old man. He wasn't even invited to the wedding, and on and on and on. Not, of course, grasping the fact that, of course, he was working. That was his job, and he was being prevented quite deliberately from doing his job, from earning an honest day's living by Harry and Meghan's behavior. So I want to know about the bots as well, which I suspect personally have been unleashed by a very angry Meghan, but that's my personal opinion, and we're going to test it. And this is of course because we do tarot here for fun and entertainment, and it is all just my opinion, and it is all speculation, and I just read energy. And there is a disclaimer in the box below. I'm hopeless at shuffling these big tarot decks. Some people do it effortlessly the other way around. I can't do that. It's just not something that I'm capable of doing. So, never mind. We'll get there. And I haven't used these cards for a while. They sometimes trip me up because they just read a bit differently. So we'll see what happens today. How they're going to trip me up today. So, let's see. I think we are ready to go. Little 5-card reading. Harry's feelings on this interview, Meghan's, and those bots. What I think, anyway. Or bots. I just want to know from the tarot what the tarot has to tell me about all of that, because it was instant and very intense, swarming of comments. So what do we have? We have the Wheel of Fortune. And it's interesting because the energy of this wedding was described as the worst wedding, or worst royal wedding ever that he had attended. And the Wheel of Fortune is Jupiter energy. It's the happy energy. When things are going your way, it's jolly. It's jubilation. Literally, the Wheel of Fortune. It is celebrations. That was supposed to be such an amazing day. I personally couldn't watch the wedding, even though I was an avid royal watcher by then and an avid Meghan watcher in particular by then. I could not watch it. I went in the days when I still had the dog. I went and walked the dog for a very long walk rather than watch that wedding. And I have never been able to sit through it. I've seen some strange and rather ghostly images from that wedding. I've seen Harry looking quite sick and pale and sweaty and as if he's quite nauseous. I've seen what I think is Jupiter's delight on certain faces at that wedding. The Queen's look of disgust at that wedding, but I haven't watched the wedding, couldn't bring myself to. There is the Wheel of Fortune though. That was the jubilation, the celebration, but afterwards Meghan of course famously said on Oprah it was a spectacle and they didn't want to go through it. They were forced into doing this for show. They had their own private wedding before. Some people speculate a very long time before in Botswana. And now, of course, we've got Arthur Edwards, the elder statesman of royal photography, coming out and saying it was the worst wedding ever. It's all packed into that Wheel of Fortune for me, of what we saw versus what actually was going on, because this wheel turns and you're up 1 minute and you're down the next. We're in the down moment of this Wheel of Fortune, even though the card is upright. Situation we're dealing with. We have the Dancer, which is the Princess of Wands. It's PR, it's news, it's communications, it's literally somebody who's come out, a junior energy in the sense that this isn't a palace state spokesperson or somebody who was actually involved in planning the wedding or something like that. It's quite a good energy for a photographer. I think there is a photographer card in here somewhere. I was hoping it would show up, which is why I've used this tarot deck. I can't remember. It's been a while since I used it. But that energy, Princess of Wands, is enthusiasm and communicating and PR and newspapers and press and publicity and all that kind of stuff. Spreading the good news about this good news story, this feel-good story. We're getting feel-good cards coming out here because that's the image that we saw. So I'm waiting to see how Harry and Meghan are going to respond to this new spin on the feel-good story that it was presented to us as, which would be the Princess of Wands, Page of Wands, pretty much, communication about a happy news story, a good news, feel-good story, ostensibly on the surface. How does Harry feel knowing that Arthur Edwards is saying these things about him? And we have the Seven of Cups in reverse. This tarot deck has got its own ideas about keywords. It's not my idea as the Seven of Cups, debauch. But the Seven of Cups in reverse is, it's like that ice bucket challenge that Meghan did with Rory McIlroy. And allegedly there is some interesting videotape of what happened after that ice bucket challenge. But it's, someone pours a bucket of cold water over you when the Seven of Cups is in reverse. Upright is possibilities, limitless possibilities. The world is your oyster. You can dream, castles, pie in the sky kind of thing, castles in the air, whatever, and imagine that your life is amazing and that all these wonderful things are available to you, possible for you. But when it's in reverse, no more possibilities. You have to face reality, and this is a reality check for Harry. He knows this man. He's known this man ever since he walked out in his little romper and saw the press all lined up with the cameras that clicked and gave him PTSD. Not so much now. Interestingly, he seems to have been cured of that. But he knew Arthur Edwards. He knew him from little. And this is somebody who has come out now, and he can't accuse of racism or anything like that. Somebody who always gave him the benefit of the doubt, probably covered up for a lot of him, really liked him, and has said, I don't like you anymore. I don't like the way you're living your life. I don't like what you've done, and I will never forgive you. A real bucket of cold water over Harry right there. Does he regret the way things went down or the way things have gone since with him and the press? And we have the Prince of Discs in reverse. This is Harry, of course, Discs, Earth sign Harry, the Prince. It's the day trader, kind of a risk taker, which is interesting because that's not the Prince of Discs at all, in my opinion. But anyway, as I say, that it's got its own ideas about keywords. His tarot deck still reads fine. Prince of Discs, Harry, in reverse. And that is, he knows. Because what this card really means, which day trader, not for me, it really means being solid, being reliable, being dependable, being on the right path. Making that good progress towards your destiny in your true path, honorably and reliably so. And it's in reverse. Harry knows that he's gone off the rails completely. He knows that he hasn't lived up to expectations. He knows he's disappointed Arthur Edwards. He knows he's disappointed a lot of people. When that bucket of water went over him watching this, it's interesting that it's come, this kind of realization, for me, there is realization in this reading, has come from someone outside the royal family. It's not friends, it's not brother, father, whoever else, old friends from forever ago who don't invite you to their wedding because you're such an, I was going to say a very rude word. I won't. I'll try to keep it reasonably clean here. This has come from somebody else. And it's landed for Harry. It's landed. He knows that he is unreliable. He is a failure in this person's eyes. So how about Meghan? Meghan heard the news, watched the interview, saw it in the New York Post. How did she feel? Death. The end. The heart ripped out. And that's interesting because it's two deaths I'm seeing there. One is, of course, death to the Parkour. It's another death blow to the Parkour brand. Somebody like this can come out and say, it was just so awful. They were so awful. We were treated so badly. They only cared about the celebrities that were there, and they couldn't give a toss about us. And they were awful, and it was awful, and I felt awful. It doesn't look good for her brand, but there's someone else's death in there. I think that she, and this is my speculation, I think that she wishes the old so-and-so would fall into a vat of boiling oil. Pretty much. I'm being melodramatic and exaggerating and being a bit snarky, of course, because it's tarot for fun and entertainment, but I do think that she wishes that he was no longer around. Interesting, because I'm taking that card quite literally, and I don't normally. But endings, very bad news, a bad ending to a situation. The spectacle that we were all supposed to buy into, Wheel of Fortune, the jubilation, the good news, the Princess of Wands, spun to us, PR card, as being so wonderful. Now nobody believes it anymore. We see through it now. We can watch the video. I think there are some people out there that are just waiting to watch. They're waiting for the divorce, as far as I know. I've seen around. They might have a bit of a long wait still. But she knows. She knows that we know. And she can't spin this in a positive way anymore, which is pretty tricky for the brand. And so tell me about what I personally think are the bots that have been unleashed, the flying monkeys. And we have the Four of Cups. And no, not luxury, definitely not. It's a bit of a loose card, so we'll turn it over quickly. The Four of Cups is about rejection. It's about apathy and indifference and boredom generally, but more about being offered something and I don't particularly like it. And of course, all of this came because the photographers were rejected. They were told, I'm sure that they pleaded their case and asked for things, and they were told, no, go away, not interested in your problems, can't be bothered to help you. And now there's a scramble on with the Four of Cups in reverse. There's a scramble on to try and get the story told in a different way. It's very bad for Meghan. For Harry, it's the bucket of cold water and some degree of remorse, because he knows he's gone off the path, off the straight and narrow that the Prince of Discs should be on. She sees it in a much more serious light with the Death card. I mean, it's a massive negative card, the Death card, that it's completely rewriting the narrative because it's endings and transformation built into that card. So this Wheel of Fortune has become death by virtue of time and truth-telling. And she now, with the Four of Cups in reverse, is going to go out there full bore and try and rewrite the story and try and make it that, no, everybody loved us and we were really popular and we were nice to everybody. And don't you believe a word that the silly old man says, because he wasn't supposed to be there. He wasn't invited. It had nothing to do with him. They were just living their best lives. I think I've seen that line already in the comments section from one of these. Possibly even in Nigeria, apparently they have these huge bot farms. Perhaps it's some of her Nigerian cousins who've got stuck in and come to her defense, Four of Cups in reverse, to tell the story in a more positive light. So we'll put that in I think, officially as her cousins in Nigeria that are rushing to her aid to tell us that no, that's not what happened, it's not how it went at all, this is how it went. Silly old man Arthur Edwards. That's your reading, and thank you for watching, and I'll see you hopefully on the next one.